This is the 3D twister from Silverlit. It's called a twister because it is able to ride on either side if it gets flipped over. Not sure about the 3D bit. Doesn't appear to be any more 3D than any other remote control car, but it does have some kind of fun features. First of all, to get it going, we've got a little cord that's in the controller that we just plug into the car and turn it on to charge. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to charge it up, which is pretty average, but you only get about 4 to 5 minutes of run time out of that charge. And the real downside is that there's a recommendation that you wait 10 to 15 minutes after playing with it to recharge it again. But we're going to wait a few minutes and let it charge up and then come back. Alright, so it's all charged up. We've got the controller on and the car on. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sync the controller to the car by pressing these two buttons. And the reason that we do that is that the controller communicates to the car and the car back to the controller actually on a 2.4 gigahertz system. And so that allows up to 10 cars to be run at once, which is kind of neat. Another interesting thing about this is that the car actually communicates back to the controller, so when the car hits something with its front or rear bumper, it actually gets some force feedback into the controller, and there's an intensity in what the feedback's like if it's a harder hit versus a softer hit. Another thing that we have on the controller is this button here that is switched on for flipping. And so what that does is if I turn the controller right, it knows to turn right. But if the car is flipped over with this switch on, it still knows that right is right. So there's that, and then we've also got a low gear and a high gear for faster speeds. This is how you turn, and then we've got forward and backwards. So that's all there is to it. There are some fine-tuning things that we can do to make the 3D twister a little bit easier to control. First off, on the back of the control is a trim dial, where if the throttle control is too far forward or isn't neutral, so we're getting some acceleration or reverse, we can adjust that with the trim. And then also on the back of the car, or I don't know which one's the back, but on the car there's an adjustment lever right here where we can try and get the car to go straight if it's veering right or left. There are a couple of other things that come in the box. We have some additional tires, and this is a really sort of a tacky texturized rubber. You can see that the rubber that comes on the rear tires to start out with is kind of thin like the front tires, and these are a lot thicker. And what that allows you to do, once you get a little better at controlling the car, is get a lot more speed and control. The 3D twister also comes with a ramp, and it actually has some tape. It supplies its own tape for taping it together and then also taping it to the floor. But when you set this down, you can get some great jumps and barrel rolls and flips and things like that. So they really thought that one out pretty well. That's about it for the basics of the 3D twister. Let's go see what it's like in action. We know that the 3D twisters advertise at 21 feet per second, but what is that in miles per hour and scale miles per hour? We're going to do a little math to figure out. First of all, we know that 1 mile per hour is equal to 1.466 repeating feet per second. So if we take our 21 feet per second and we divide it by 1.466, we get 14.318, which is the actual miles per hour that the 3D twister will travel. To convert this to scale, we need to know what the scale of the car is. So the wheelbase on the 3D twister is about 4 inches. If we look at the average automobile, the wheelbase is about 112 inches. So this means that the 3D twister is about a 1/28th scale car. So then if we take the 14.318 actual miles per hour and multiply that by the scale, 28, we learn that the 3D twister in scale miles per hour travels just over 400 miles per hour.